is Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and today I'm going to be reviewing Welcome to New Las Vegas. Welcome to New Las Vegas is a roll and write game that is the sequel to Welcome to, as in just Welcome to ... where you were creating kind of a 50s style suburb. Now you've graduated and you're doing Vegas. This game is a bit more complicated than the original Welcome to. In fact, the rulebook explicitly recommends that you play Welcome to before you play Welcome to New Las Vegas, but I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what this game does and try to give you the best sense possible of play. As with the original Welcome to, play centers around basically 3 pairs of cards. So every turn, I'm going to flip down this top card with a number on it to reveal new numbers, and then on the back of each card is an effect. And on everyone's turn, when you play this game, each player chooses one combination of number and effect to place on their neighborhood. It used to be, but now it's on their city. Instead of houses, you have a whole bunch of casinos. The thing that makes the number placement important is that when you place a number on one of your casinos, that casino is now considered to be open. And there are rules for the numbers that are permitted. So the hard and fast rule for Welcome to and also for Welcome to Las Vegas is that numbers need to be in ascending order, and you can't have the same number twice unless there is an exception, which can happen occasionally. So for example, if I put the 5 here, right here in this spot, then I'm going to need to have numbers that are less than 5 fill up these other 3, and then numbers that are greater than 5 in ascending order fill up the right side of the street. So in addition to having to go in ascending order, which is true for both Welcome to games, there is a new complication in Welcome to New Las Vegas, which is that while you can just put any set of ascending numbers going along on your streets, you're encouraged to try to create sets of even and odd numbers in a row. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you want to try to go for 1, 3, 5, because you're going to score points for longer stretches of all even or all odd numbers, with the premise being that it's good luck for your gamblers in your city. The other major conceptual difference between this one and Welcome to is debt. So as you can see, there's lots of little dollar signs all over. You're going to circle them under various circumstances to accrue debt and cross them off when the debt is repaid. If you end up with too much debt, you're going to lose points at the end of the game. But what's interesting is that there's a lot of different ways to incur debt, and you often have to take debt on in order to complete other actions in the game and then pay it back off. So you have to take a certain amount of risk. I guess it fits with the Vegas-y theme of the game. At the very start of the game, you and your fellow players, if you choose to accept them, will decide if you're going to borrow money from the bank, so you can actually start this game in debt. But of course the idea is to be rich, so let's look at some ways to do that. We discussed the numbers. They're going to go in the casinos that are on your streets. So the streets are these horizontal strips. If you complete an entire avenue of 4 casinos, then you can also build a hotel. So placement of your casino numbers matters in terms of trying to get stretches of even or odd numbers, and also thinking about sort of a top-down vertical placement, because you want to think about hotels. If you can also build casinos directly adjacent to each other up here instead of skipping from casino to casino, you can work on trying to get the longest golf course, which is also worth a considerable number of points if you invest. But let's have a look at the card effects, since that is where a lot of your point stuff is going to come from. So this one is an improvement. What this basically means is that you can cross off squares on here to make different things worth more points. So if you want to make your par 3 golf courses worth more, you can take the 10 and the improvement, place the 10 somewhere, and then cross off this top block on your score sheet, and now all the par 3 golf courses are worth 2. So if you're going to go big on golf courses, you might want to put some improvements here. But you can also improve other different valued things. So for the limousine, you're going to be passing different landmarks, which we're going to talk about in a moment. You can make those worth more, or, not hurt you as bad in this particular column's case. You can change the value of hotels. Basically, this one helps you ramp up the action of other effects that you've chosen in the game. This takes you up the inauguration track. So basically the mayor of the city wants you to be a participant, so you get to keep crossing off on this track as you go. Whoever crosses this one off first is going to cause the end of the game, but getting to the end of little breaks in the track can get you bonus actions. Also, if you're the person who contributes the very least to this inauguration track in the game, you're going to incur some debt. So don't be a slacker in terms of giving to your city. The limo is interesting because instead of affecting what happens inside of various casinos or at specific sites, what it does is it starts at the airport traffic light And then you trace a route from lamp to lamp across the city. You can't double back, but you can cross your own path. And basically what you're doing is you're trying to make a fancy loop of cab destinations that takes you in a complete circle back to the airport. So you get points for passing casinos that have these red carpets, only if they're open. You get points for passing fountains, and you lose points if you haven't made it all the way back to airport parking by the end of the game. So once you start a limo track, you better be ready to finish it. And then the only effect that you haven't seen so far, let's just pretend that we're going to our next turn. You'd flip all these cards. So our other effect is a show. And the shows are interesting because basically these casinos that have stars at them also allow you to open up a show. So every time you fill one of those in and you get a show, you get to cross off a box on the show track. And once you start opening shows, you have a choice to make. You can either go for the slots on the left that give you more points but have debt incurred later. So you're going to want to open a bunch of shows to make sure you don't get smacked with this debt at the end of the game. Or you can take a little bit less risk but also get fewer points and then have a better chance of opening the shows that'll pay off your debt. The other way to earn points is, of course, by completing projects. You and the other players are in a race. The person who manages to complete a project first will get the bigger point value on the left. Then you flip the project. It's already been approved, but anybody else who completes it gets the smaller point value that's on the right. And that's an overview of all the basic things that are happening in Welcome to New Las Vegas. Now I'm going to take just a moment to talk specifically about solo because I know that's what my solo friends are here for. All right, so we've warped into solo mode. Let me tell you how you do it. So you're going to share your score sheet with the AI. So you just divide the little score boxes in half. And the top one's you and the bottom one's them. And you'll see your competing totals at the end. What you're going to do for each game is you're going to pick one of your enemy architects. So there's several AI opponents in the box. So if you've played the Alexi solo mode for Welcome to, this should look very familiar because these are very similar to the opponents from that solo deck, which by the way is one of my favorite solo modes of all time. So I was glad to see them include that in here. Then what you're going to do is instead of have 3 stacks of your casino cards, you make one big stack with the effect side up. And you're going to shuffle these approved project cards into the bottom half of the stack. So let me do that really quick. So basically you divide it in 2 equal halves. You're going to shuffle the project cards into the bottom. They'll come out at some point. And then voila, you have your deck to work with. You do still get to take a bank loan if you so choose. So think about whether you want to do that. Then what you're going to do is you are going to, on every turn, pick 3 cards. So you grab 3 of your cards. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take 2 of the cards for yourself. You use 1 card for its number and 1 card for its effect. So if I wanted to do some casino construction and grab a 10, I could do that. But then this card is given to my discard pile, but what that really means is it's going to impact the scoring for my opponent. And you need to leave this in order because at the end what you're going to do is you're going to count up the things that you gave to your opponent, and then it's going to impact the score that they get at the end. So let's just have it effect side up since that's the part that matters for the AI. The AI is also able to complete projects before you under some circumstances. So remember those cards that we shuffled into the bottom of the deck. At some point they're going to come out, and then when they do, you are going to check against the parameters for whether your opponent completed the project, which are unique to that opponent's card. And then at the end of the game, when you're all done, when you go for the discard pile of your opponent, then you're going to look at the composition and order of that discard pile, and it's going to affect how they score. So it adds an extra layer of thought to the game because you have to think not only about what you're taking and about your game, but also about what you're giving and what kind of score you might accidentally be handing to your AI opponent. And most rules still apply, so the end of the game happens either if a player finishes their inauguration track, somebody fulfills all 3 projects, or somebody manages to open all of the casinos that are already built, so not the ones that are under construction, on all of their 4 streets. And that is a quick overview of Welcome to New Las Vegas. So now for some final thoughts. I want to preface this by saying that Welcome to is one of my absolute favorite board games, period. It's my #1 roll and write with the Alexi solo deck, and it is number 10 on my top 10 solo games list that I did for the Dice Tower about a year ago. So I love Welcome to, and I got Welcome to New Las Vegas thinking, wow, maybe this will be even better than Welcome to. It's not. I'll just be upfront, it's not. So there are things to appreciate about the game. It's still a good production. I'm really happy that they included some of the solo cards and that they included the solo rules inside of New Las Vegas that they had as a separate purchase for regular Welcome To. So if you have Welcome To, you can play it solo, but there's a specific solo mode from the Alexi solo deck that is exceptional, and I highly recommend you get it for an extra $5. So I was hoping that all of that in one package and Welcome to New Las Vegas was going to be amazing. However, mechanically, I just think that this game leaves a lot to be desired. I think my first warning was when I was reading the rulebook and it said, we don't recommend you play this game unless you've already played Welcome To. Don't make a standalone game that's not playable unless you already understand the game system from another game. So then when I started to play it and look at all the different card effects, there are a lot of interesting ideas in here. I think the idea of debt is really interesting. There's a lot of challenging things that you can do with the different effects of the cards and adding, attempting to get chains of even or odd numbers, looking at the avenues. In many ways, you can see how this is an attempt to build on the magic that was Welcome To. However, it's like everything you do in this game has some kind of added complexity to it, as if any one of these could maybe have spiced up a normal game of Welcome To, but instead, altogether, it's like you have this huge collection of spices and no food. It's like a whole bunch of cool ideas that got thrown together, but they don't actually work together in the same pot as well as they sounded when they were individual ideas. In my opinion, if you want to play Welcome To, I would just get regular Welcome To and stick with it. It's still tried and true. It's still amazing. Welcome to New Las Vegas really does not do it for me, and it's not a terrible game. It's playable. It is something that I would not refuse to play at a game night, but I'm also not keeping it. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I can see a lot of the merit in it, but it just doesn't quite get off the ground and fly. Thanks for watching, and happy gaming.